So a little bit about me. I'm an engineer. I primarily work as the maintainer of the accounts module in ERP Next. I've been working in Frappe for more than 3 years now. And I use a text editor called GNU Emacs as my primary editor for my day-to-day work. So so there are quite a lot of complicated talks lined up for the rest of the day. I'm not going to do anything complex. I'll just try to do something simple, crude, and fun. So I hope you guys can follow along. So what is this talk about? So it's essentially about developer tools and your experience in using them. And this session is going to be part talk, part live coding session. So let's start. So what are tools? Tools are essentially instruments that you use to accomplish a certain task. And as developers, we use variety of tools to do it. Web browser is one tool, a terminal is another tool. But the thing is, tools are highly subjective. Every developer has high opinions on a certain tool and they will use it for their day-to-day work. But the critical point to note is the better integrated your tools are, the more you're productive. So what I'm trying to do here in this session is I'm going to take two tools that I used normally in a day-to-day work and I try to integrate them better so that my developer experience is better in my day-to-day work. So the tools of choice for today is the Frappe bench. Bench is a command line utility. Pretty much everybody might have used it. You literally use it to run the Frappe app. And another tool called the GNU Emacs, which is I think I'm going a little bit fast. So again, bench is a command line utility. It's literally used to run the Frappe app. And then another tool that I use commonly is the GNU editor. It's a text editor. It can be configured to run like an IDE with all the language server capabilities. It's close to 40 years old. It's almost like the oldest available software for editing text. So there's some kind of appeal to it. I don't know, maybe I'm biased on it, but I do like softwares that survive the test of time. So first, before talking about integration, I want to give a demo of how a really good integrated tools look like. So I have picked up two different tools to first demo how they are integrated well, and then I'll try to accomplish the same thing for the Frappe bench from within the GNU Emacs editor. So the first one is ripgrep. I think most of the developers are aware of this. It's essentially a grepping tool written using Rust. It's insanely fast. The thing is, ripgrep is a command line utility, so you literally have to type in command every time you have to grep it. But the Emacs editor has a package called RG, which pretty much simplifies this whole process. So for now, I'm going to quickly show you how well this integration is. Let me quickly move to a source code repository. So imagine you're in ERP Next repo, and you want to search the entire repository for a certain term. So this is the Emacs text editor. The screen that you see is the Emacs text editor. I've just opened a directory. What I can do now, I'm going to run a command called RG, which is ripgrep. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it's asking her regex from my side. So I say maybe show me all the files that has debit in account currency text in it. And it's asking me where do you want to search these files. I just say search in everything. And it's asking me from which directory, and I also specify the directory as well. As you can see here now, it has run the commands. It has fetched all the outputs that the command outputted, and it formatted, and it's giving me in a nice buffer here, with the text highlight and everything. Sorry. Okay, fine. So the cool thing is, this is nothing fancy here, but when I press the key M, you can see a pop-up buffer with all the individual configurable options of the command line utility. For example, say if I want to, I don't just want to look at the exact matched lines. What if I want to see one or two lines above or below it? What I can do now is press M. You see the -C key combination is assigned to the show context attribute. So I just press -C, and it's asking me for a context line and how much context you want to see. I just say maybe 5, and I press G again. Now it has rerun the command, and it's giving me the exact output, like the matches and the file lines above and below. So I don't have to retype the entire command in a terminal every time I want to change anything. So another example is like, for example, say I want to limit the number of matches to maybe 2 per file. Again, there's a option. I press -m and it's asking me how much counts you want to see in a matched counts you want to see in a file. I say 2, and I press G again. Now it has rerun. As you can see, like the results are limited based on the options you specify. So essentially, I'm not even touching the terminal. I'm using the command line utility, but even if you are not aware of all the options, you can configure that extension to display it here so that you can find out parameters that you've never used before. So this is one example. Another example that I want to showcase is Git. There's a package called, so first of all, Git is a version controlling system. It's used primarily in like 99% of all the open source softwares in the world. Emacs has a package called MagGit. It's essentially, again, a user interface on top of the command line utility. I'm going to show a demo of that as well. Okay, again, you're in an Emacs repository. All the Frappe apps are Git maintained. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to run a command called magit dispatch. You can see at the bottom, it's giving me an option of like all the commands that I can execute. Say, for example, if I want to see a log of, Git log of all the commits made by a certain user, I can see the small letter L is assigned to the log command, so I press L. Now it's giving me another option with another pop-up with all the options available for the log command. I'm going to use -A, and it's asking me, okay, what all authors do you want to limit it to? Maybe I just give my name, and then I press L again. So these are all the commits made in the repository by this specific user. So again, I'm not touching the command line terminal. I'm still using the tool, which is the Git, but I'm not leaving my editor. I'm using my editor to do the complex job of running the commands or whatever configurations that or individual parameters that you want to pass. It can be done within the editor itself. So this is an example of, these two are the examples of like highly integrated tools. You don't even have to leave your primary tool to do other tasks. So with these two examples, I think you get the idea of like what I'm trying to do here. Like basically, I want a certain similar set of UI for bench. I don't want to go to terminal and write bench commands. I want to run all of the bench commands from within my editor. So I'm going to keep this very simple. So let's start. Like so this is the talk part. Now I'm going to do the actual live coding stuff. So let's start with basic stuff. Let's write some basic commands to run shell commands and fetch the output and display it within the editor. So are you guys following what I'm trying to say here? Like, am I too confusing, or do you want any clarity? Like, a little feedback would help a lot. Like, am I clear? Am I doing fast? Fine, good, fine. Okay, let's start. So first, what we want to do is like, we are an editor. We need to say to the editor, okay, take a command, run it, and give me the output. So what we're going to do now? So you don't have to know the exact syntax. The language that I'm using is called Emacs Lisp. Again, the language itself is almost 40 years old. It came along with Emacs. And I'm not expecting you to follow the syntax. I'm going to narrate what I'm trying to do here so you can pretty much follow up what's happening. I'm going to write a simple command called bench. Maybe let's try to run the bench command with the --help. You might have done it yourself. Like, so the help parameter lists all the options available for the bench command, right? So let's try to do that. Bench help. Also, like, is the screen text visible? Can you make out what's there on the screen? Fine. I'm going to make it interactive, which means I can call the specific function directly from my editor. And Emacs has an API called make process. It can literally create a process. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it bench process. And it's going to take a command. Okay, it's going to take a buffer. buffer is basically the screen that the output will be shown. So like I want to run a command, and whatever the output the command is giving, I want to put it in a certain buffer. I can name it whatever I want, like so I'm going to call it bench log. And I want to specify the actual command that's going to be run. So here in this case, we're going to run bench, right? Bench, and I want to pass in the help parameter. Okay, I think that should be fine. Now, once the command output is stored in the buffer, I want to switch to the buffer so I can see what happened. So switch to buffer, and I specify the buffer name. So the buffer name is already here. What I can do now, I can create a variable. I use the variable here. Fine. So the function is ready. Let's try to run it and see what happens. So I go to my command executor. I try bench help. Okay, the command is available. I run it, and it's giving me an error. Fine. All right. Minor syntax errors. Fine. So I rerun the command. Like it ran the command. It fetched all the output. It put the output in a buffer called star bench hyphen log star, and it switched my view from whatever file that I was looking into the buffer output buffer. So now we have a basic setup ready. So help is not useful. Let's try to do something interesting. So basically we have done this part, calling a shell command. Now let's do something interesting, like bench. Once you initialize a bench, the first step that you do is create a site. So let's try to do that from within the editor. So I'm going to do some refactoring here. Rather than hard coding it to just run the help command, I'm going to rename this to. I'm going to make this a dispatcher, and it can accept arbitrary number of arguments. So whatever arguments that I pass, it's going to pass directly to the command. Fine. Here, I'm going to create a new command to create a site. So create site. Okay, let's find out what all create site requires. So bench new site is the command to create a new site. It appears to have quite a lot of options. Let's try to run it and understand what all parameters are mandatory or required for this to run. Say I specify a site name. So it's asking for a root username. It's already pre-filled, so I'm not going to give that. Enter, and it's asking me for a password. And it goes about creating the doc types. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand what are the mandatory parameters for this command, like, so that I can pass it directly from my editor. Okay, and then it's asking me for an administrator password. And now it's done. So that's like 3 different parameters, mandatory ones: the root user, the root password, as well as the administrator password. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Fine. Okay, let's try to do that. We need 3 parameters. So let's start defining some variables. Okay, let's not. Fine. So we're going to read a password from the user. The Emacs editor can actually do that. Like it can literally prompt a user and ask him to enter a password, and it can store it in a variable, and then we can send it directly to the command line program. So what I've done here is I'm just reading the password from the user and just storing it in a variable. Next, what we have to do now, so we've defined a dispatcher command. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass all these arguments directly as a function parameter. So bench dispatch command, and I want it to run new site. So it's going to ask 3 different user inputs, right? Like the DB root username, the DB root password, and then the admin password. Since all of these mandatory parameters have a flag or a specific options available in the command line itself, I'm just going to directly send it. So what I'm going to do now, like I'm going to say, this is the DB root username. Is it username? And that is by default always root. And the root password, which we already read and stored in a variable. And the admin password. That's the exact text here, admin hyphen password. For brevity's sake, let's just use the same password as the SQL. I mean, I don't want to read password twice. Fine, this looks done. Okay, I forgot one thing. I have to make this function interactive so I can call it. Okay, let me evaluate this function. Okay, let's try to run it. Bench create site. At the bottom, you can see it's asking me for a password. Okay, done. Okay. We forgot the most important one, which is the site name. Let's do one thing. Let's read the site name from the user as well. Okay, site name defined. I have to pass that site name to the command. Okay, let's try to run it again. Okay, it's asking me for a site name. Let me call it demo2. Yeah, and it's asking me for a password. Okay, something's happening. Like, okay, fine. It looks like it's running, but the output is very, it's not good. There appears to be some control codes involved, and Emacs is not able to figure out how to handle those control codes. We'll come to that, but let's see if the command runs successfully or not. Fine, yeah, it worked. Yeah, we have both the sides. Like, okay, now we are like barely 16 lines of code. Now we are interacting with the command line tool. We are fetching the output, and the editor itself is taking care of reading the password in a secure way. If you have noticed, the password was not visible when I was typing it, and it's sending it to the command line tool. It's fetching the output and it's putting me in a buffer. Like, I don't know how other editors work, but this is the pinnacle of extensible software in a way. Like you build extensions based on your requirement. So that's fine. Now let's clean up the output. The output is a little bit ugly. I don't want to bother with the specifics of it. So essentially, you see this capital M, that's a control code, which is a carriage return, which is an instruction to the terminal to go back to the beginning of the line and overwrite whatever it's there. So it appears that it's rendering in the same line. Since this is a text editor, we don't want to do that. Let's just write something to print a new line instead of doing a carriage return. You know what I'm going to do? That will require quite a lot of time. So I already returned the handler code. I'm just going to copy it. Don't bother with the exact specifics. So this is a handler code. All it does is just, if it sees the carriage return in its output, it's going to replace it with a new line. That's it, nothing else. And I'm going to pass this handler function to the make process function, saying that like whatever output you get, pass it through this filter and then show the output in the buffer. Did I evaluate this function? Okay, yeah, it's evaluated. Okay, control codes. Fine, let me reevaluate. Let's try to run the create site command again and see if the output is much better or not. Bench create site, asking me for a site name. Let me name it a different one. I'm supplying my password. Okay, something's happening. Yeah, the output is far better now. Like, okay. Hey, it worked. Good. Fine. So again, we are just like what 20, 25 lines of code. Now we have a really not perfect, like at least somewhat workable solution. Okay. Now, so we have basic functions ready. Like we can pass any number of arguments to the command line utility, and now we are creating sites literally from the editor. But this is still like quite a lot of typing. Like if you have noticed, like I'm literally calling the function, passing in the site name, passing in my password. Is there any better way? Yes, there are. Like there's a library called transient. Okay, okay, so there's a Emacs library called transient, which allows you to build keyboard-driven actions. So in my initial demo of both ripgrep and git, both of the UI was built using the transient framework. It literally gives you a pop-up with each keys mapped to an individual command. What I'm going to do now, instead of using the built-in Emacs API to communicate with the command line utilities, I'm going to use this transient library, and I'm going to model it based on the ripgrep as well as the magic tool that we just now saw. So let's try to do that. Like, let's rewrite the create site command, but with a more better UI. Okay, so we need a new library called transient. Okay, and I'm going to create a transient prefix. So there are some minor details here, like the library has a concept called prefix and suffix. The prefix is the shortcut key and the suffix is the command that has to be executed. I'm going to create a shortcut map, like each key should be mapped to a specific command. You don't have to understand everything, just I'm going to narrate it, so just follow along. So I'm going to define a prefix, and I'm going to call it bench dispatch. I'm going to give a title for this. These are all the bench commands. And I'm going to map the character C, just the key, single character C. To a elisp function. Fine. Okay, let's try to call this bench dispatch and see what happens. Bench dispatch. In the bottom end, you now see a pop-up. It says bench commands as a title and the character C as a shortcut now. When I press C, now it's asking me for a site name. But I don't want to do that. Like, why don't I fill up all the details in the pop-up itself and then press one key and let it execute? Let's try to do that. Like, I'm going to modify this create site bench into a prefix itself. And I don't want to read anything. This should be fine. So root password, that's fine, but okay, fine. Let's not do that. I'm going to create a new prefix, transient define prefix bench site prefix. Site commands. I'm going to map a key code to asking for a site name. Wait. And then I'm going to move this here. Yeah, so this should work. I'm going to modify this to accept arbitrary number of args. Fine. Let me quickly reference some code. Action command, transient arg value. Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so I'm going to read the site name from the arguments that are passed. Root pass is already read. This all looks fine. Let me evaluate it and try to run it. And for site commands, bench site prefix. Okay, fine. So let's see if it works. Let's see if the pop-up menu works. So I'm calling the bench dispatch prefix command. It's giving me an option. Okay, you have one key assigned to another prefix, which is the site commands. I press S. Now I'm with a different pop-up which says it has a site commands, and the -s is assigned to a variable. I can literally set a variable and then execute a command. The variable will be auto-passed. So I'm going to press -s. Now it's asking me for a site name. So I specify site name, maybe demo 4. As you can see, the variable is now set. So you can literally see what all variables are set. And now I press C. Site name is already passed. Maybe I forgot something. Let me go and fix that. Oh, got it. Okay, I don't think we need this. Site. Yep. Sure. So apparently there's audio. You should just give me a few seconds. Okay, fine. So again, let's see how it works. Like basically, what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to create two pop-ups that automatically is going to ask me certain arguments, store the arguments, and show me what all arguments are, and then within a single keystroke, it's going to execute and give me an output. I'm going to call bench dispatch, and it gives me an option. Okay, inside the key S there are another prefix command. So I press S. Okay, now I can see. Okay, the site there's a command called create site, but there's also a variable called site name that I have to pass. I press -s. Now it's asking me for a name, for a site name. I specify the site name. I specify and press enter. It's stored here. Now I press C. It's asking me for a password. That's fine. Done. So we started off with the basic inputting directly in the bottom. Now we are in like in a nested keyboard shortcut based navigation style now. Like literally the same as the Magit as well as the ripgrep demo that I showed. So let this run. So now we've rewritten the original creating site function to use the transient library to be much more user friendly. It has visual feedback like what all the parameters, what are the values of the individual parameters, and what all keys are assigned to individual commands. Just for conclusion's sake, like, let's also write the drop site and see how it works. Very simple. I just need to add one more line. let's not add it here. Let's add it in the site prefix itself. I'm going to name it drop site. And drop is also going to ask you for a password. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pretty much copy it. Site name is already passed. I'm going to read the password. I don't think I need to specify. Let me quickly check. So okay, I need the root username and the password. No need for admin. So I can remove the admin password. So I'm passing the root. I also usually, do no backup. I'll pass that as well. Okay, fine. Now we have a drop prefix defined. Let's go through the menu again. It's again same single site commands, but in site commands. Okay, let me evaluate it. Okay. Under site commands, now I have two options. I can either create or drop. So what I'm going to do now? Specify a site name, and I press D. Okay, it says no backup. You know what? Let's forget that. Site command, I specify the site. Asking me for a password. Done. Site 2 already exists. Oh, force. Okay, it's asking me to force it. Fine, I can pass that. Let me reevaluate the function. Sorry? Yes. Yeah, it is calling it. The key D is actually mapped to the drop site function. Mm-hmm. Oh, got it, yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Okay, so minor typo. Okay, now I'm seeing the same menu, but I have two options now, either to create or drop. I'm going to set the parameters. Now I press D, asking me for a password. Yeah. Actually, you need when you drop it So now that site is dropped. So within half an hour, now under 50 lines of code, now we have a navigable keyboard-based menu to interact with bench. So I understand the creating and dropping is a very rare thing. You do it once, but you can again, based on your needs, you can extend it more and more to run tests or to list individual sites or anything like. The whole point of the session was, so that pretty much concludes my session. So the whole point was there's never been a proper integration of any of the tools that we use to do to development in Frappe or in any other Frappe related apps. So I thought I would at least showcase how easy it is with the right frameworks that individual developers can start extending the tool so they become much more productive and ergonomic. I hope, I'm pretty sure there are no Emacs users in the crowd. I'm pretty sure, but there are VS Code and Vim users. I would urge you guys to go and build something like this so that the ecosystem grows and we have much better experience for developers, individual developers. Yeah, that pretty much concludes.